Windshields freeze on the inside. Here. The windows on the other cars parked are now frozen, and he notices that he has been parked for too long. Get a move on. A small voice says, and he begins to get with the program. He can feel the freeze outside, and like bait, it tempts him to be still and to seize and to fall victim to its lackadaisical ways. He has heard about the sub-zero and what it can do to a man. He spots a row of icicles hanging along the overhang on the furniture store. He grins at the frozen awning and the frozen sidewalk and the steps that lead before the long glass window along the street lamps, which most are partially frozen and spitting out a gloomy glow. Soon the boy will knock on the door and beg to come in. He will say, "Open the door! Open the door, Dada! Open the door!" And he'll try to bust in the door. "Open! Open!" he says. "Open!" He goes to the door. And he opens the door. The door is opened. And the boy enters. He says Dada and mumbles something in gibberish. I say, "What did you say, son?" He says back, something like Dada. And he goes back to his book to escape. He can feel the freeze outside. He gets a text about not shutting the kids out. He goes back to the book again. He can feel the freeze outside, and like a bait, it tempts him to be still and to cease and to fall victim to its lackadaisical ways. He has heard about the sub-zero and what it can do to a man. The boy enters again. "Boy, how is your food?" The boy wanders around the room, just as the words wander in his head. Is the boy real? Is the boy real? And back to the book. He spots a roll of icicles hanging along the overhang of the furniture store. He grins at the frozen awning. And at the frozen sidewalk, and the steps that lead before the long glass window along the street lamps, which most are partially frozen and spitting out a gloomy glow. He reads the sign, "Davis Brother," and hears something like someone walking on something, like someone walking on a bag, like a boy near him walking on a bag, some kind of odd bag, like a crunching sound. Davis Brothers Furniture. This must be where it's at, he says. Then the small voice whines. It arrives in a whisper. The voice is barely heard or understood, but familiar. His breath stops for a moment. He listens. The voice is barely a sound and is soft and rarely visits him from now till morning. On this gray morning, the whisper hides in the swaying trees and lifts when the wind lifts and falls, and he hears the boy. And when the wind falls, and at times this February among the Piscataqua County seat barely dies down to a breeze, The voice is small and soft. He watches a row of frosted, stiff pines saturated in damp ice, pine frozen with icy skin along the river's edge, swaying and adjusting and learning and leaning over the frozen Piscaticus stretched out wooden arms. There are nearly an eternity of trees, now frozen. Mostly pine around these parts up here. Up here during winter, everything is frozen. And when the trees freeze, the trees cease in all motion, and he hears the boy again. And stops. And goes back to the story. And when the rivers freeze, the rivers flow in segments and slowly crawl. And like crystal statues and frozen and jagged forms, the trees hug the water's edge, and the boy returns. And in deforming poses and crooked lines cast shadows over the freezing icy blocks. This is tree. Trees. So many trees. So many. So many trees. So many trees. The voice is small and soft. The icy limbs like large hands reaching for handfuls of water. Hands that may have formed over the water from mimicking the wandering fishermen in the knee-high boots and the thermal wear, the ones that come and go in these parts, the wind again. The whispers ask him a question. Do you know what this type of weather will do to a man? He understands in hardness of sub-zero temperature chilling the roof of his mouth. The mouth inside him still warms, right? But the skin is tight and hard, right? Little does he know if he stands out in a small parking lot long enough he could freeze to death? Does the heart know this? Is the heart felt? Did the heart feel? Did the heart felt? Did it felt? Did something feel and accept it? Was he accepted and known and continues to pump regardless of his debt? And displacement and rejection and forgetfulness, regardless of his wonder, Jonah is still in the car. He reaches under the steering column and twists the ignition. The engine falls still. He puts on his thermal gloves and the long horn ball cap and opens the car door. The Piscaticus rumbles below the hill where the car is now parked. And the boy taps him on the shoulder. He continues despite where he is and how he got here. He extinguishes his cigarette and drops it in the ashtray spout. He shakes the small black container that holds many other butts and then watches the smoke slowly drift off. Another stream of smoke streams upward, watering his eyes, and he turns his head and leaves the door ajar. Another, and another, and another, and another, and another stream from his cigarette rises out of his black plastic funnel top. He notices his little sin hasn't completely burned away. A rattling sound, a boy's raspberry, arises as he shakes the ashtray and lets it loose, and he plops it in the cup holder near the console. He continues shaking the small plastic ashtray, allowing the mounting bunts to fall to the bottom of the ashy sludge floor that he has been building packs and packs ago, and then drops another smoldering butt into the hole and rattles ritualistically like a drumming, and he lets go in the cup holder and lets the last breath of smoke rest in the air. And he watches the smoke drift away into oblivion. The car idles. He is in Maine now. Yards from the Piscaticus. Among the Piscaticus county seat. Among the loggers and families and hippies and country folk and vacationers from New York City that briefly visit to see a mountain or ride an ATV trail. They spend their money as if nearly throwing it away to small stores and craft stands and farmers market booths and bars and hotels and guides and hunting expeditions, as if the money was made of mere scratch.